Hello guys, welcome back, and in this lesson we are going to consider the syntax for CSS. So far we have seen how to add CSS styling to a particular HTML page. On this lesson we are going specifically to understand the syntax for CSS. So if I go now to the code here, let me just remove everything here, and for our style css also here, I'll remove everything. We'll use this in the in the later lessons, but for now I just want us to understand the syntax for css. So when you use css outside of the element, for example, if we import css or we use css using this style guy here, what happens is that for you to define css styling for a particular element on the html, then you need, of course, to have the selector, all right, the selector or the html element or the element like this, and then you need, of course, to have these curly braces, and then the property for that css that you want to define for that particular selector or element. In this case we can say, for example, property, property, and then of course you need to define the value for that particular property. So an example will be, I want the selector or the element body. That is what I want to format, of course. And then I define a curly braces. And then the property that I want to define for this particular body is what? Is background color. And the value for the background color, I want it to be yellow, something of that sort. Then I can remove this. So if now, for example, I have, let's say we have a div here. What have I done? Div here. And for this div, let us say we have some lorem data here. And I want to define, the color of this lorem ipsum content that we have here. So I can just say, I have a selector by the name div, all right? And I want to define the color. So when you say color, it will automatically pick or define the styling for the text that you have in that div. So for the color, let us say I want the color as, let us say blue. So that is the property, and then the guy we have here. Then so if I go here, all right, let me just go here and do a refresh. As you can see now, we have the background as yellow, and then the color on the div as blue. So if I go back here and change the color as maybe green, I go back here, I do a refresh. You see the color changes to green. That is the syntax for the CSS styling outside the HTML element that you want to style. So the same thing applies here. I'll just say the element, for example, the body, and then I'll say, I'll say the property is maybe, let us say maybe padding. Padding is like spacing around the content inside that element. So I can say maybe 50 px. I'll teach you all this as we go along. For now, I just want you to see how styling is applied. If now I do a refresh here, all right, I need to add this CSS styling inside our guy. So I need to go here and say link, and this is styles.css. If I go back here, I do a refresh. As you can see now, there's a lot of spacing around this content that I've had, and that is because I've added padding. I'll show you all of this styling once we progress to box selectors and box element. So that is what I wanted to show you. And if you use HTML, or rather if you use CSS inside the element, directly to the element, so the syntax will be, you write style, you always need to write style, and then the property. So the property in this case, let us say, will be maybe, let us remove this now for this case, and let us say the background color will be maybe, let's say blue. Of course, you'll never have to style your page like that. It looks really bad in that case. So if I refresh now, you see the same effect. But now when you use CSS styling inside an HTML element or directly to the HTML element, you have to say style, then you have to define the property, and then the value that will be the syntax. All right. So that is the syntax of the CSS inside and outside of HTML element.